Started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ditch Diggers Dialogue Volume 9. For those who don't know me, my name is Ashley Hudson, and I'm the Operations Manager for the Heavy Construction Contractors Association. HCCA strives to provide educational and networking opportunities for our membership, so we created the Ditch Diggers Dialogue series as a virtual way to stay connected. For today's session, you will hear from Anthony Vanafro, Land Use Development Manager for Luckstone Corporation, who will educate us on the evolution of Luckstone's quarry in Fairfax. Anthony is a Fairfax native, JMU graduate, and currently resides in Leesburg, Virginia. He has been in his role at Luckstone since 2017. During today's session, we ask that you keep your microphones muted until we open the floor for questions. Please type any questions or thoughts you have in the chat box as we go along, and we will discuss them at the end of Anthony's presentation. Now I will turn it over to Anthony. Anthony, thank you for being here with us today, and the floor is yours.
All right. See here, second. One second. Ashley, I'm just trying to find that shared computer. Appreciate everybody's patience here as I get this set up.
People are still signing on, so take your time.
Yeah, Pete, he's in there cutting and pasting, putting that big wrap pile we can put right in the middle of that big development you guys got coming. So it's good. Good stuff. I like to see it, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely, buddy. Bring it on.
Good morning, everybody. Again, this is Anthony Vanafro, Land Use and Development Manager for Luckstone. Super happy to be here this morning to talk to you all about our Fairfax plant. I want to thank Ken and Ashley and the rest of the HCCA for having me this morning and for all the good work that they've done for our industry. It's really important work that they do. Really excited to be here to talk about Fairfax, especially being born and raised in Northern Virginia myself. I've seen the Fairfax plant evolve over the past at least 40 years or so. And driving on 29 and seeing that hole get bigger and bigger over the years, and then be able to play a part in its development and future in my role here working with Luckstone, really cool for me. So really excited to share the story here with you all this morning, and hope that you find it worthwhile, interesting, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback after we're done. So let's go. So with every good story, we have to start with the past and do a little history digging here. And with the Luck family and Luckstone, there's a lot of history. And the story starts all the way back in about 1923. Back in 1923, the conditions of roads was poor, to say the least. You can see these pictures here of some of the common road troubles that were found back in the late 1910s and early 1920s in Virginia. The picture on the far right there is actually Route 1 back at that time. And roads were so bad that people just avoided traveling through the state altogether. So needless to say, if you were going to jump into the construction aggregate business, it was a good time to kind of get in at the ground floor, per se. And in 1923, Charles Luck Jr. did just that and purchased the Sunnyside Granite Company down in the Richmond area. They went on to acquire several other quarries in the Richmond area over the next few years. And meanwhile, up in Northern Virginia, Fairfax County, who was responsible for maintaining their own roads at that time, they instructed their county engineer to go start a quarry so that they could get that rock for themselves and have that resource to maintain and construct their roads up in Northern Virginia. And that was in 1928, the start of what we now call our Fairfax plant. Rumor has it that the county actually used prisoners at the time to mine out that rock. So I haven't yet seen any pictures of that, but that is the way the story goes. So 4 years later, in 1932, the Virginia General Assembly created the secondary system of state highways, which led to mechanisms to fund road projects throughout the state. Now, you got a great picture here on the right of a road being constructed back in that time, and it's mind-blowing to see the equipment that they were using. You see horses, buggies. It's just really cool to see how far we've come since then. So in 1938, 6 years after the secondary system of state highways was implemented, the Luck family had an opportunity to acquire the pit that was created by Fairfax County up in Centerville. And thinking about back in the 1930s of what kind of challenge that would have been to branch out of the Richmond area, have the awareness of the Fairfax County quarry, and the guts really to go north and start a whole new operation. So obviously, we know how this story evolves. It ended up being a great decision for the Luck family. So we're very happy that they decided to do that. So I think this group would appreciate the list of assets here that were part of the deal back in 1938 when the Lucks acquired the quarry. You look at some of this equipment, and it's kind of funny to think that they were operating a full-blown quarry just with this amount of stuff on the ground. Got grease guns and 200-foot of track. You do have a gyratory there and a crusher, 1-lot sledgehammers. It's kind of a cool little list to think about and imagine of how they were operating on a day-to-day basis, given all the equipment and technology that we have today. So when the Lucks acquired the quarry in 1938, I'd like you to think about what the population might have been in the whole county at that time. And if you happen to guess 35,000 in total, you were right. Such a small number when you think about where we are today. In fact, in Centerville alone, there's 75,000 people today. In Fairfax County altogether, we're now at about 1.2 million people. And just for some comparison's sake, I'm sure there's some Hokies on the line here. Virginia Tech has 37,000 students. So the county as a whole had 35 in 1938. And you could almost start to understand here the beauty and the timing of acquiring this quarry for the Luck family, with road funding being generated and population about to skyrocket. I got this image here on the right, which is really neat to see the population growth in the county between 1900 and 1990. You can see it in 1900, 1910, 1920, even 1930. It's pretty slow growth. Came from 18,000 people up to 25,000 people in 1930, and then 40 in 1940.
But after that, you could just see the exponential growth of people in the county. From 40 to 98 in 1950, it almost tripling to 1960, and then just continuing to grow into the 70s, 80s, into the 90s. So the timing was perfect for the Luck family to get into the mining business, as the county was about to see a huge growth spurt. So fast forward into the 1960s, 1970s, like I said before, the population skyrockets to about 450,000 people. Some other milestones in the county: Route 66 was constructed and put into play. Dulles Airport opened. And yes, Dulles Airport had the people movers back in 1962 when they opened up that airport. And as we all know, they're still in practice today. I find that funny. Thought I'd share it with you all. But there's a great picture here of an aerial of what the pit looked like back at that time. And we could just start to see maybe 2 lifts down there on what we call our south pit. The plant at this time was doing about 500,000 tons a year. And, not too bad. We were going to grow from there, but just to give you a sense of where we were in the 60s and 70s, that's the type of volume that we were able to accomplish at that time. Towards the late 1960s, early 70s, the Lucks had the foresight to acquire additional property on the north side of Route 29. They obviously saw the demand growing for construction aggregates. The population was continuing to grow. Roads were being built. So they went ahead and acquired that property on the north side of 29. So construction's booming, roads are being built, residential developments occurring left and right. We have this property on the north side of Route 29. But how do we get the rock from the north side to the south side without interrupting traffic on Route 29? And the answer was a tunnel. So we constructed a tunnel right under Route 29, which connects our south pit to our north pit. And this allowed us to efficiently mine out of the north and south pits and keep all the traffic off Route 29, allow us to bring all the shot rock over to our crushers over on the south side and ship everything out of the gate on the south side of 29 where it is today. Huge accomplishment. I doubt we'd ever be able to do it again, in Fairfax County, and with Route 29 being what it is. So I'm very glad that we got that accomplished in the early 70s. It's a beautiful thing. I hope you all get a chance to see it one day, and understand and grasp the magnitude of having that tunnel and being able to ship millions and millions of tons out of this facility and use that tunnel without bothering or impacting traffic on Route 29. During this time as well, Fairfax County decided to call it down zone the western side of the county to the RC Rural Conservation Zone. And this required us to begin our special permit process through the county. This was the functionality that was put in place for us to remain operational, even though being in a new residentially zoned part of the county. The county in themselves decided that they wanted to regulate and oversee all mining regulations for the quarries in the county, rather than allowing the Department of Mines, Minerals, and Energy to take over that regulation, which the DMME does for all counties in Virginia and all quarries in Virginia, except those located in 2 counties, one being Fairfax County and one being Henrico County down near Richmond. So with that, our first set of development conditions were put in place in 1981, and Fairfax oversaw all mining operations from that point moving forward to the current time. Obviously, you can understand the challenges there with Fairfax being the beast that they are, that we all know and love. But we're able to successfully manage these permits early on and continue to do so. I wanted to share this image down in the bottom right. This was our first special permit plat back in 1981, which presented a concept of what the property might look like once mining was completed. We call these reclamation and restoration plans, and they are required as part of every special permit. And back in the 80s, it was deemed that the most likely way that the property might be restored would be to transfer the property upon the cessation of mining to a local water provider for reservoir storage. A fairly common way to restore and reuse mined land. So, 40, 50 years ago, that was the concept that that stuck for a good while before we started to really think about when the timing of mining would actually come to an end. So moving forward to 1990 and up through the 2010 era, the county, as we all know, and as I've kind of said over and over again here, just continued to grow and pop. The aerials you see here, show what the property looked like back in the late 80s, early 90s, and then what it looks like in 2010, and you could just see the expansion of the subdivisions and the commercial development just in the western side of the county. During this time, this is when the Fairfax plant really hit its groove. And for those of you that know that plant well, our customers, that place was a madhouse for a good 15, 20-year stretch there. During this time, we were doing about 2 million tons a year out of the plant. A lot of rock being shipped out of that one entrance. So there's plenty of stories of needing to have your head on a swivel when you were coming in and out of there. And I'm sure people on the line here could probably tell some better stories than me, but crazy amount of rock, very successful period of time for the property. Obviously with the expansion of residential development and the communities around us, it was imperative for us to be very transparent and welcoming to the growth. It obviously was added to the success of the plant. We knew what we are as a quarry and what our operations were, and really focused heavily during that stretch on getting embedded with the community, being part of the community. We open the doors up to the community with open houses, partnering with local elementary schools. Most recently, I had a very strong relationship with Centerville Elementary, and we got a picture here on the bottom left of the one and only Brad Johnson, our plant manager at Fairfax, with a picture of a Luckstone Path sign at Centerville Elementary. We've really focused hard on helping them out with their environmental initiatives there. So, we've always been committed to being part of the community, and really shined through during this period of 1990 to 2010, and obviously continue to do so with all the communities that we touch. Moving forward to 2010 to 2020, in this most recent decade, we've got our Bull Run plant up and running during this time. That starts to take a lot of the burden and the load off of the Fairfax plant. Residential development continues to get closer and closer to our existing operations. You can see this picture here on the left here. I've circled the residential homes, our nearest and dearest neighbors. some of them are just hundreds of feet off of our high wall. So the landscape definitely started to change most recently here. And about 2016, 2017, some decisions were made to start to cease mining in our North Pit, considering the impact we had with the local neighbors there that recently came into play. So that evolved into thinking about what's going to be the next step for this North Pit now that we see the end coming for this side of the development from a mining perspective. What are we going to do to restore it? And as I mentioned before, the restoration and reclamation concepts that were previously proposed with our special permits conceived, the pits being reused for water storage. As we decided to terminate mining and explore restoration efforts in the North Pit, at the same time, Fairfax Water, which would obviously be the nearest water provider to use this for water storage, they arranged an agreement with competing quarry in the Occoquan area to achieve all of their water storage requirements that they would foresee for decades and decades into the future. So that plan A of water storage quickly became evident that it wasn't going to be a viable option for the North Pit. And with an exposed pit like this, and knowing that mining was coming to an end, we really needed to start making some decisions on how we were going to restore this piece of the property. As I mentioned with our special permit, it needing to be renewed every 5 or 10 years. In 2018, it was one of those years where we had to go in and obtain a new permit renewal, and that was going to be a public hearing. And we decided at that time it was necessary to further develop what we were going to do to restore this part of the property. And that's when we initially came up with the reclamation fill effort. That's commonly used on several quarries in the Mid-Atlantic here. Very common up in Pennsylvania and Maryland. It's being done in Virginia. So we decided to propose a revision to our reclamation and restoration efforts to include a reclamation fill exercise for our North Pit. And in 2018, that's when we really had a struggle to make sure the community and the county knew exactly what we were proposing. There was a lot of misinformation being dispelled early on during that permit process relating to our request to become a landfill or to start accepting trash or construction debris. We had no intention of ever doing that or using the pit for that purpose. But initially with this permit application back in 2018, had a lot of opportunity to educate communities around us and the county themselves about the practice that we were going to use to restore and reclaim the property back to a safe and suitable spot for future redevelopment. Ultimately, we're able to work through those challenges, developed what I like to think a cutting-edge reclamation fill plan that the state has never seen before, based on input from several consultants on our side, input from other jurisdictions and other states. It was a well-developed reclamation fill plan that ultimately gained the full support of the BZA, the Board of Zoning Appeals, to ultimately gain approval in 2020. So about 2.5 years worth of work went into that reclamation fill plan, detailing how we were going to operate this phase of the mine plan and all of the quality control procedures that we were going to be put into place to ensure that the community was going to remain safe and healthy during this part of the process of mining. With that history lesson, we're now here at present day. In 2021, the Luck family has been operating for 98 years. They now operate 28 different locations across 5 states. A tremendous amount of growth recently for the company. It's been very fun to watch and be a part of, and the Fairfax plant is just a great example that we use in all of our growth efforts of the right way to do things, the right way to be part of a community, the right way to work with county and local jurisdictions, and ultimately it'll be the right way to restore and reclaim a property.
2021 is going to shape up to be a really exciting year for the Fairfax plant. We have our special permit now approved from last October, which includes the details of our reclamation activity in the North Pit, and that is starting to take shape there. We have plenty of mineable reserves left in the South Pit, and this is going to allow us, this coming year to provide several different opportunities for our customers. We got continued aggregate sales, recycled concrete opportunities, and now this reclamation fill aspect. Speaking of reclamation fill, this is a good time for me to focus on what that actually means. We had to get very specific and clear with our permit so that the community, the county, our customers would be very aware of what is and what isn't going to be accepted for this exercise. I have the definition here taken right from our approved reclamation fill plan that I'm going to read to you, just so that you all can understand the specificity that we had to get into during this permit exercise. So reclamation fill, for the purposes of the Luckstone Fairfax plant, will refer to natural soil and rock materials that are certified to meet the requirements of this plan. That is the reclamation fill plan. These requirements have been developed to be protective of the environment and human health. Reclamation fill will include earthen and rock materials that have not been known to be exposed to or mixed with solid waste, petroleum products, or chemical contaminants. Only materials that meet these criteria and satisfy the testing requirements defined later in this document will be accepted on site and used as reclamation fill. So a lot of words there, I have to admit, but if there's anything that you want to take away from this part of the discussion, it's to know that reclamation fill is limited to clean, pre-tested, pre-certified dirt and rock. We will not be accepting anything other than that, and that's to include organics, construction and demolition debris, recycled asphalt for the purposes of reclaiming the North Pit. It's very specific to just dirt and rock. So how are we going to make sure that that actually occurs, and what are the quality control procedures that we had to put in place to make sure that we can accept that material, know where that material came from, understand that it's clean and free from contaminants, and be able to confidently put it into our pit, knowing that we're going to protect and preserve the environmental health of our neighbors and our community. So the first step is going to be source testing. Every source that will request to have their material brought to the Fairfax plant and accepted as reclamation fill will need to be tested against a laundry list of analytes or various contaminants. And we've established through a variety of work certain levels of a variety of contaminants and analytes that will be deemed acceptable. And that material will need to be tested at a certain rate depending on the volume. Right now, the requirement is a test needs to be provided to us for every 3,000 yards of material as part of the application. And this will not be a operation that will just accept drive up deliveries. There will be a process put in place, through the plant itself, where a generator or an applicant will provide us with the information showing that the material has been tested, providing environmental documentation regarding the property, and that will be reviewed internally by Luckstone Associates. And then it will be deemed whether that material and the results of the testing qualify for everything that we've established and been committed to testing for to accept this as reclamation fill. If the material is deemed acceptable, then there will be a quoting process to the customer, and eventually the delivery will be scheduled. And we've taken this delivery aspect to another level to ensure the material is brought directly from the source to the Fairfax plant. In other words, we've put an exercise in place to track the haul trucks from the source directly to the Fairfax plant itself. And that's just another level that we put in to ensure that perhaps haul trucks aren't being loaded up on site A and then going off to an auxiliary site and perhaps accepting different material or dumping their load and getting inferior material and then getting back on the road and coming to the Fairfax plant. This is going to allow us to track in real time the movements of the truck from the source to the plant itself. And what we're going to do is use a proprietary app that we've developed in-house called Quick Haul to track that information, which every hauler will be responsible to utilize. So beyond tracking the truck, once the truck arrives and it is deemed that it went right from the source to the plant, the scalehouse operator will then inspect each truck visually at the surface level to ensure that there's no inferior materials or such as organics, toilets, refrigerators, beer bottles, things of that nature to visually check that it looks, at least from the top, that material is in fact clean and free from contaminants and meets the definition that we've established for reclamation fill. So beyond inbound inspections, and if everything looks good, the haul truck driver will be directed to a location at the plant level to deposit their load. And we feel that this is a great incentive for our customers and the industry to be able to get in, get through the scale, deposit their load on the plant, not have to go down into the pit, and get washed up and get out of there. So we hope that this is a very efficient exercise, and provides a benefit to the customers to get in and out and hopefully maximize the hours in the day removing material from the job site. Once it's placed on the plant, Luck has the requirements to perform even additional testing randomly to ensure that the material being deposited on the plant is in fact clean. And we will be doing random testings at random intervals on a routine basis as per our permit. So just another level of quality control to know that material on site before it's placed in the pit is in fact clean and free from contaminants. So Luckstone is going to be responsible for then moving the material from the plant level down into the north pit. So as you can imagine through this description, lots of activity, lots of resources are going to be put into this process on the Luckstone side to ensure that we're doing this right, we're doing it effectively and efficiently for our customers, and ultimately doing it the safest way possible. The images here that I provided on the far right is a draft of our reclamation fill agreement. Each source will have to have an agreement where the generator or the the source is signing and certifying to the material. This will all be documented and recorded. We're going to be subject to random inspections from the county, and we'll need to be able to provide all of this information for every bit of dirt and rock that we accept at the county's request. The second image here is just a quick screenshot showing, what the haul truck driver may see using our Quick Haul app, as we track these trucks from the source to the site. So I hope that describes at a high level of what this exercise is going to look like, and just paint the picture a little bit more of what to expect as we think about perhaps bringing some reclamation fill to the Fairfax site. Okay, the future. What does the future hold for Fairfax? Well, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. We have 14 million yards of material, reclamation fill material, that needs to be placed in the North Pit alone. And, that can be easily a 20-year effort in and of itself. Meanwhile, we have millions of reserves left in the South Pit that we fully intend to mine out over the course of the next several years as well. And then ultimately, when we deem the South Pit to be exhaustive of reserves, right now the plan is to backfill the South Pit using reclamation fill as well, which South Pit being bigger than the North Pit could be another 20-25 year process. So, and throughout this whole time, we fully intend to keep on selling our construction aggregates and offering the great service that we have been for years at the Fairfax plant. So plenty of work left to do there. We hope to see you all come in some capacity. Maybe it's dropping off a load of reclamation fill and picking up a load of stone. But several decades remain to serve you all, our customers, in a variety of ways. So the future is bright and long for Fairfax. It's important to point out that the reclamation activity that we've proposed, utilizing reclamation fill to fill up the pits, is not the post-mine use. The reclamation activity is simply just the last phase of the mining process. A post-mine use is what would happen after our permit's done, the land is completely restored, and someone comes along to try to reuse the property in a different way. The commitment that we've made right now is simply to restore the site in a safe and suitable manner for future land use. And that includes backfilling the pits to eliminate high walls, and we're actually going to construct surface bodies of water that are probably around 20 acres in size. And to give you a better visual of what 20 acres looks like, that's about the size of Lake Fairfax. So at the end of this reclamation effort on both pits, as it's proposed right now, there will be 2 bodies of water that will be, complemented by rolling, shallow slopes from the existing high walls down to the water's edge. We feel this is the most appropriate way to leave this site moving forward beyond mining activity, rather than abandoning the mine more or less and leaving exposed high walls and deep water. Western Fairfax County being as developed and dense as it is not the location where we'd ever consider leaving a quarry in such a state. So these are some conceptual images that we've developed showing what the site's intended to look like after reclamation fill. On the top side is an aerial of the North Pit there with that L-shaped body of water, and on the lower image is a South Pit kind of looking north. So I hope we're allowed to see some of this come to fruition at the end of the day, but you never know how long it's going to take. We've never made any commitments to the exact timing of when this will come to a completion from a reclamation standpoint. It's going to be subject to the amount of acceptable material, that is material that meets all the definitions and criteria of reclamation fill as we define it in the permit. We've made estimates based on that, and we hope
that it's in the 20-year mark, but as far as a specific timeline, time will tell. The market will tell us how long it will take. So we look forward to getting that reclamation work started. Very excited to re-energize Fairfax, back to its similar operating days in the early 2000s, and just happy to be able to provide another opportunity for our customers to maximize the value of our resources and our property. So I want to thank everybody again for taking their time out of their day to hear about the Fairfax plant and learn a little bit more about its history. Got some history of Virginia in there as well. That's free of charge. Hopefully you all have a better perspective of all the work and the effort that's gone into the Fairfax plant over the years, and what Fairfax is going to look like here in the next decade or two with reclamation fill getting started and continued mining efforts. Super exciting to be a part of. I think everyone's going to be excited to see how Fairfax takes shape over the course of the next couple decades. So I just want to thank you all again, and thanks for having me. So if you have any questions, I'm here for you.
Thank you, Anthony. That was awesome. I feel like I just watched a very relevant documentary. That was great. Do we have any questions from the floor? I know I have a question. As you listed the old pieces of equipment on the original site, it said like 2 horsepower and 35 horsepower. After seeing the photos of the horses, did you mean actual horses?
Yeah, I don't think that they were meaning actual horses, but yeah, that all that old equipment's really fun to look at and try to picture how they were mining back in those days. Looking at some of those pictures, the safety concerns alone kind of rattled me, but they were getting it done somehow. So
we have a comment in the chat box. That was a great presentation. Loved the history lesson as well as the vision of the future. Well done.
thank you, Jimmy.
Any other comments or questions from the group here? Well, before I let you all go, I will tell you that if your if your company has a cool story to tell, please reach out to me and we can schedule a session like this for you all. Thank you everyone for attending today. And Anthony, thank you again for the awesome presentation. If HCCA can do anything for you all, please reach out. And other than that, have a great day.
Thanks a lot.
Great job, Anthony.
Thank you.
Nice.